Hi everybody, welcome to Dram Daddy Whiskey. I'm Dan, and tonight we've got another limited edition bourbon to review for you. This one comes from the good folks at Lux Row. We're talking about Blood Oath Pact 9, finished in Oloroso Sherry casks. Ooh. Like all pacts or editions of Blood Oath that have been released over the years, this one was blended by John Rempe. He blended 3 bourbons together to get Pact 9 here. There's a 16-year-old bourbon, a 12-year-old bourbon, and a 7-year-old bourbon that was finished in sherry casks. All 3 are Kentucky straight bourbons, which makes Blood Oath Pact 9 also a Kentucky straight bourbon finished in Oloroso casks. Same box packaging as normal. Got the year on the side. Got the description of what we're working with here on the front. The bottle though is absolutely gorgeous. Pact 8 was finished in Calvados cask, so it was green. I think it had some gold on it too, which was fitting. But this one just blows it out of the water. It's this deep, like ruby, maybe wine red with like a silver border. It's fantastic. But we're here for the whiskey inside, so let's open it, pour it up, see what we think. Like every Blood Oath, the ABV on this one comes in at 49.3%, which puts it exactly at 98.6 proof. The other gimmicky thing is that we're not going to know where these bourbons were sourced from. That is the Blood Oath that was taken, supposedly by John Rempe, to not disclose the specific blend of bourbon that we're working with here. This is a yearly release. Past years have been pretty hard to find. Pact 8, just last year, ended up being non-allocated after a while. We don't know yet whether this one's going to be allocated, whether eventually it's going to be unallocated, how easy it's going to be to find, but I guess time will tell. I was very excited to find this one fairly soon after it was released. Let's see what we're working with. On the nose. The sherry comes through right away, but it is not overly prevalent or overpowering. A lot of wine finished bourbons in particular I find, well, I guess really any whiskeys, if it's not done super well, all you can taste is wine sometimes. I'm sure the fact that only one of the bourbons in this blend was finished in ex-sherry casks really helps make it a little bit more subtle. Although I don't know that subtle is the right word because it is very noticeable. It's just not overbearing. It's just there to be enjoyed. Also get a little bit of rye spice. Standard bourbon sweetness is obviously there too. It's like a backdrop of like a not super sweet vanilla, like faint vanilla, maybe like a watered down custard or something. Maybe some brown sugar too. The oak is definitely there as well. On the palate. Wow. The age on this bourbon comes across really, really well. You can definitely tell that there's older bourbon in here, which for me is exactly what I want. It's not overly drying. There's some tannins there, but it comes across more as like spicy than it does drying at all. I feel like the sherry brings that out in a good way as well. It's not too woody because there is that backdrop of sherry, that kind of wine note there as well. Let me get another one. So it's sweet up front, mainly that sherry, and that kind of fades as you go to the back palate. Still prevalent in the mid palate. Then the back palate is really when you start to get more of those wood notes, maybe the mid palate as well. And so it's really just this great development from mainly sherry and some of the sweeter bourbon notes to that oak and the rye spice, and probably some spice from the oak as well as you drift toward the back palate. And the finish you're left with is kind of a combination of all those. It's really good. Yeah, back to the nose, it's just rich and spicy. I wonder if I would have been able to guess that this was finished in Oloroso as opposed to any other kind of sherry just from smelling it and drinking it, because it's not like cloyingly sweet. It does have a bit of a dusty note to it. And I know Oloroso imparts more of those sorts of notes in the whiskey that it is finishing in the ex casks than like Pedro Jimenez or Madeira or something like that. And I'm definitely picking that up here. It's sweet, but it does have this almost dusty profile to it while avoiding being, again, too drying. It's just a really well-balanced bourbon. They did a really good job with this one. Yeah, third sip. I don't know that I have more to say other than this is really fantastic. I do like it a lot better than I liked the Pact 8, which I thought was a really good bourbon. I might not like Calvados finished bourbons. I've tried apple brandy and Calvados finished bourbons, a few of them since then, and they're always just kind of fine for me. But even so, even taking that potential bias in mind, this is a better bourbon than Pact 8 was. Pact 9 is fantastic. The age comes through better than Pact 8 did. The sherry influence on it is very well balanced, but still there. Like, you taste and smell everything in here, and it all adds to a wonderful package where it sounds kind of corny, but the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Really is a great bourbon. The score. The score I would give this bourbon whiskey is an 8.8. It is absolutely great, fantastic stuff, really wonderful. I love it. It might be the best sherry finished bourbon I've ever had. And on to the grade. So this isn't a cheap bourbon. I think the cheapest you'd be able to find this one would be like $150 before tax. I paid $180 before tax on this one. I wasn't happy about that, but it just came out. I was really excited for it, wanted to taste it, wanted to review it. And that is really expensive for a bourbon that is not barrel proof. But this one is incredibly well done. Packaging is fantastic. Availability, we don't know. Again, last year's ended up being very available. Years before that have been a little bit harder to find. Definitely limited, but not impossible. So all in all, based on how fantastic the whiskey is, the price, which is high, the availability, which, you know, could be hit or miss, definitely not easy to find, the grade I'm going to give this release for Blood Oath Pact 9 is an A. It's not the easiest to find, and it is really expensive. Those are the only two things against it. It's a wonderful whiskey that's packaged really well. I absolutely love it. There really was a lot of work put into blending this, and it was done with really good whiskey. So deserves a high grade, but had to knock it a bit for price and availability. Have you had this one? If so, what do you think? How do you think this compares to other packs? Was a prior pack your favorite release? I've heard really good things about Pact 7, but I've not had it myself. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe if you want to stick around and hear other reviews, know as soon as they come out. And until next time, cheers.